All right, welcome back. Another episode, Peak Podcast. I've got Akil again on the line, back from Southeast Asia. We'll be meeting each other every odd couple of weeks. I know you're going on vacation for a while, so I don't know if we're still going to be able to catch up while you're there. Hopefully, we can make
Yeah,
a plan.
man. No, it's all work, man. It's all work, Peter.
Good.
No,
Good.
no play, man. It's all work.
Good. Yeah, it'll be good for us to catch up if we can. I mean, no pressure.
Yeah, I'll have time.
When we can get some recordings in, we'll do it.
Yeah, 100%.
So good stuff. We've
Yeah.
got a nice one. We've got a nice one. Well, this is really the big opening one. I know last time we kicked things off just to kind of set the scene for everybody, I suppose, on what we're going to be talking about. But I think today we're really getting into the nitty gritty of the stuff, and I thought maybe today we talk about why mobility is really still misunderstood, right? Because I think there's still funny thing is I'm hearing a lot more people on the internet saying now that mobility is just another fancy marketing made up word. So we'll get into that as well. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that? I know we're coming from two different camps. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I think what it is. Yeah, it's a list. I got a long scroll here.
Give it to us.
But I think the main thing is where I like to start to try to clear up some of the misunderstandings is the difference between flexibility and mobility. A lot of people just have never really understood those concepts, and so when you're trying to explain that to people, it's like a huge light bulb goes off. A lot of times, at least usually when I explain it to them, I normally just ask the person to lie flat on the ground, and then I'll say straighten your knee, straighten your leg, flex your ankle, and just lift your leg straight up in the air, and stop when your knee starts to bend. So they'll start to bring that leg up, and all of a sudden that knee will start
Doesn't
to bend.
go very far.
Yeah. So I'll tell them, look, as far as you can go is what you have control, what you can control. This is your active range of motion. This is what you can actively get into, right? And if I get in front of you and push you deeper into that space, that's going to be your passive range of motion. You can actually get into that space, but you need some type of external help, right? So I just explained that that's the mobility, what you can control. The flexibility is how far that tissue can go. All of that is the flexibility, and the mobility is the controllable part.
Yeah.
And it usually just a big light bulb goes off.
But to be fair to people, right? I don't think they fundamentally understand really why they would need anything other than flexibility, right? Because for a lot of people, it's a case of I need to get into a position. If I can get into a position, I've got the mobility to do so, and I see it a lot, right? And to your point of active versus passive, if I put an external load on me, I'm going to get there, right? It doesn't necessarily mean the body is going to like it. Maybe not now. And then you argue, well, why are people constantly sore, and why do they have niggles, and why do they get injured? And that gets into that part of the conversation is once we get into the active passive range conversation, because, again, there's a lot of misconception and misunderstanding in what mobility is pertaining to how I use it for sports, as an example, right? You see a lot of people use it as a warm-up, right?
Yeah.
And it works, right? Because I need access in the moment. It's going to give me access in the moment, but then 2 hours later, it's gone, right? And then we keep repeating. It's a rinse and repeat. I mentioned it last week. We get into that cycle of stretch, train, get stiff, repeat, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, going back to your question, like, what is the misunderstanding? I think that's one that I commonly encounter with people.
Yeah.
is just understanding that passive and active thing. Now, obviously, you're working in a CrossFit space,
Yeah.
and the people who participate in CrossFit, um, I would say, generally have a very good knowledge of these things, right? I mean, they're more educated than the average gym goer for sure.
You would think so,
Oh,
but
maybe I'm
you,
wrong.
you you would think so, and for some people, yes, maybe there are definitely a lot of people that do take this seriously because CrossFit is one of those sports where you tend to move through full range of motion in a lot of different positions that your body is not generally used to doing. If you take a guy that's sitting behind a desk 8 hours a day, he comes from the office straight to the gym. He does a 15-minute quick activation warm up, gets the heart rate up, and then it's 30 snatches for time. Most people don't have that shoulder stability and that control, right, to throw whatever weight it is. Let's say it's only a 20-kilogram barbell. But I had a couple of guys in one of my kin stretch classes a couple of weeks ago. We're doing some shoulder stuff. Strong guys, big guys. These guys can press 70, 80 kilos strict press overhead, right? I gave them a 5-pound dumbbell and I said, right, we're going to do some at length shoulder rotations just with this dumbbell. And I had some of those guys winching after 45 seconds. And that's when the light bulb goes on, because for CrossFit specifically, we do a lot of movement standards measurement, right? I need to
Right.
be able to move my body into position for an overhead squat, an overhead press, for a handstand, for a muscle up, for this and for that. And we tend to train that pattern very often. So generally your range of motion through that pattern gets a lot better. But the moment something goes wrong and you go slightly out of a position that you haven't trained yet, that's when, things get stuck, or, things boggle or wobble a little bit. And when we get into the practice of these things, and I explained to people, I had a guy in a class yesterday morning as well, where I said to him, if you can imagine every single degree that your joint can move in any given direction in that workspace, that's an opportunity for you to train in. But we're so bogged down with the fact that if I need to squat, my feet need to be this wide apart, angled so far, and all I need to do is move in that pattern. And if I keep doing that 1,000 times, my mobility will improve. Not
Yeah.
wrong, 100%. It will improve for that range of motion and for that
Yeah.
movement, but that's it.
Yeah, but even if, like, for example, I think I've helped quite a few CrossFitters to come to me and they say, hey, I've started CrossFit recently, or I want to get deeper into my squat, or whatever the case is.
Mm,
A squat is always a big one, and also the overhead press.
yeah,
So what I normally do is I'll just say, hey, listen, okay, let's look at all of the joints that are required to get into the squat.
yeah,
Right. So then we'll look at that. We'll look at those ankles. We'll look at your ankle dorsiflexion, your knee flexion, your hip flexion, your thoracic extension, pretty much. And we'll say, okay, if we can improve each one of those, then your entire movement through the squat is going to improve.
yeah,
If you are deficient in one of those things, now you're compensating to get down into the pattern that you're looking for.
yeah.
And on top of that, you're loading a compensation.
Mm,
So you might not feel it now, but along the, down the line, that accumulated stress on compensated tissue,
yeah,
it may lead to some problems, is how I normally explain it to them. And,
yeah.
usually
No,
they'll get it.
100%. Right. And I get into conversations with people where, look, the body was designed to work together. That's why we
Mm.
have all of these things. You've got stability on mobility joint, on stability joint, on mobility joint. And that's there for a reason. It's so that these areas can work together. But the
Yeah, but
argument I have is,
I've been
Hmm?
accused to I've been accused of moving like a robot.
Oh,
We don't
I've not
move
heard
like
that
a
one.
robot, is what I've
Yeah.
been told.
Oh, really?
But actually, to be fair, I overheard a conversation, but that person said it loud enough for me to hear it.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
respond. I just chuckled. You know, so
yeah.
I was like, wow, they actually think that we move like robots.
Yeah.
right?
And that's where my argument comes in. And I said, fair enough, everything needs to move together.
Yeah,
But you need to be able to move those articulations independently first. It comes back to
yeah,
the law of specificity. If I want all of these pieces to work together nicely, I need to be able to intentionally and with focus train a specific area. Because if I train those specific areas, they might be on different levels, right? Ankle dorsiflexion, knee flexion, hip flexion. Let's say one is 40%, the other one's 20%, the other one's 60%. If I can bring all of those up to 80, 85%, that movement pattern overall just improves.
oh,
And, and that
100%.
and that's again what people don't really get to see is it's a case of, to your point of compensation, I'm happy with the fact, right, that I can squat to depth. I don't care whether my knee takes a beating or whether my hip takes a beating. I'm getting into position. And that's what a lot of people unfortunately think is they get by with the mobility that they have to perform the pattern that they're given to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, that's a whole nother show when we talk about maintenance and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think another big point, another reason why a lot of times mobility is misunderstood is because in general we're trained. I mean, we're taught to just train muscles.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, the fitness industry has pretty much just sold us on muscle training and physique and aesthetics, and you go to the gym, to build muscle mass.
Yeah.
And I mean, if I line up, fair to say, if I go into pretty much every gym and line up 100 people from that gym on the spot and ask them what is training, oh, it's to build muscle,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You'll get a variety of different answers, but everything is going to come back to that muscle centric mentality,
Mm.
which I'm not against muscles, right? But we know that it's more to it than that, right?
Yeah.
It's more to it than that.
Uh,
So
uh,
I think that's one of the things that it's kind of hard for people to wrap their head around is that, oh, you mean we can focus on our joints,
mm.
because that's always been left up to the clinic.
Yeah.
If you got an elbow problem, you go see a physio.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you got a knee problem, you just go see your doctor.
Yeah.
You train your hamstrings until they get big as a horse's leg, but I'm not going to do anything I'm not going to train my knee. And a lot
But
of it
again,
is just we don't know how, right?
yeah. And I don't think a lot of people really stop to think about now. The way I explain it to them now is think about from the inside out what moves first.
Mm,
Let's forget about the whole muscle or the connective tissue thing, and let's think about muscles. The primary joint or the primary function of your muscles is to move your skeleton around because it's attached to the skeleton, and the skeleton has joints. So therefore, in order for you to be able to move your joints around, you need those muscles. But people tend to forget that the muscle needs to be attached somewhere. So if you look at the belly of the muscle, the stuff that grows and looks nice and looks very aesthetic, great, it looks good. But at some point in time, the muscle is going to outgrow the attachment point, and then the joint itself is not going to function the way that it does. Another a myth that I see people have is you look at these big bodybuilder guys, and they say that, well, because my muscles are so big, that's why I'm not mobile. It's not that because your muscles are big, that's why you're immobile. To your point, it's because you only train muscle. You don't train
yeah.
anything else. Yeah.
Yeah, you focus so much on, I mean, I was in the gym, was it yesterday? Saw a guy, pretty muscular guy, wrapping his knees up. And, I don't think he had necessarily like any knee issues, but I think it was more like just wrapping the knees up because he wants to protect his joints instead of training them.
He knows it's going to take a beating, right? He
Yeah.
knows it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, well, you can train those things, right? I
Yeah.
didn't get into the conversation with him, but that was what I thought, right?
Yeah. Look, and to be fair, I was just as guilty as that guy a couple of years ago.
For sure.
It's a big thing, and you see it in the CrossFit community. We're always wearing knee sleeves and wrist wraps and weight belts and all these things, and it's really just and I get there is a degree of support on top of what you would generally have. I'm not saying that
Yep.
it's bad necessarily,
Yep.
but to
Yep.
your point is you can definitely condition the joint that you're trying to protect with something external to try and keep it in place by training it very specifically. And what I've started doing over the years now is you'll very rarely see me wearing knee sleeves anymore. I hardly ever wear a weight belt. I hardly ever wear wrist wraps because I try and focus on those joints. If I know I'm going to go really, really heavy and I
Yeah.
need that additional support, I'll go for it. But you see a
Yep.
lot of guys, the first plates have barely gone onto the barbell and the weight belt's on, right? So you build that habit into yourself of having an external support rather than conditioning the area that you need to protect.
Yeah,
So
but it
why
looks
would you do
cool
it differently?
though. Let's go.
Look, amazing. You get wrapped up, you get
Yeah,
all the face paint on, you're sorted.
bro. I'm telling you. Look, in my jujitsu world, um, I remember when we were training. When I started training in Qatar, it was guys. We were already into our 40s. Well, I started at 35, but my late 30s, all the guys around me were all about around the same age. And I mean, you could smell the Tiger Bomb from the parking lot. I mean, you would literally just gag from the smell. Everyone's creaming up and,
Yeah,
and wrapping up. And I looked at it, I said, man, we look like a bunch of mummies in here, man.
yeah,
You know, I didn't have the knowledge of mobility training at the time. But now
yeah,
that I think back, I laugh. I laugh like, man, we were really banged up. And the
yeah,
only thing we had to go with was some creams and some wraps, bro. That
yeah,
was it.
yeah. Lock
Yeah.
lock it up, numb it down, and then we'll worry about it tomorrow.
Yeah. Once the blood is flowing, man, and the adrenaline is
Yeah,
pumping, we forget about it all until the next morning when you
yeah,
can't get out of bed to go to work.
yeah. And
You
that's
know?
it. That's exactly right, right? And that's what I mentioned a little earlier is I think mobility is still that misunderstood because you can get by with just doing 10 or 15 minutes quickly before I say quickly. I mean, you do your 10 to 15 minutes warm up before a workout, and that gets you ready. It gets you prepped because the nervous system is going to give you access, right? If you tug on it long enough, it will grant you the access, but it's going to give it to you temporarily. And I think that's what a lot of people are content with is being in the moment, having access in the moment as opposed to investing in something that will give you that access long term. I keep telling all my students and I say, I want you to be in a position that if I catch you on the street somewhere and I say, give me a body weight squat, you shouldn't be telling me that I need to give you a 10-minute to warm up first before you do it. You need to be able to squat because the
Yeah.
squat is one of the most fundamental basic movements. It's a resting position. It's not an exercise, right? And that's kind of what people need to strive for is being able to move their bodies in any condition at any time without having to do a bit of warm-up prep first, wrap a bit of tiger balm, strap the stuff up, right?
Yeah. Well, it's we talked about this last time. A lot of it is just, and this is not to like look down on people or pretend like we are like we know it all. We're just discussing these issues that we see from our perspective as
Mm,
mobility specialists, and I think a big one also is just stretching has just become a default anytime that you're tight,
mm.
right? So we use a lot of these buzzwords of being tight
Muscle is
all the
short.
time. I mean, we're
Yeah.
all guilty of it. We're all guilty of,
Mm,
man, my lats are tight, my quads are tight, my glutes are tight. Tight is just that default word that we use that just means I feel something,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But then it stops there, and I guess the normal gym goer or person who are even athletes just I don't think that they've actually stopped to think, what does tight mean? Like,
Mm.
what does that word really mean? Why is it tight? Right? Is it tight because our bodies are made of rubber, and once you heat it up, it stretches, and then we feel good and it's not tight anymore?
Mm.
You know, like, is it tight? Is it sore? So those type of things, and then we just go into this stretch mode. And of course, I think that's one of those things, man. It's just stretching has become such a default answer to tightness
Yeah.
that, you know, I didn't stretch enough. I just need to stretch more. Yeah,
Mm.
I don't stretch enough. I don't stretch enough. I said, bro, you can stretch until your face turns purple. You
Mm.
don't even you don't have a shoulder that
Yeah.
functions. You can stretch that thing all you want,
Yeah.
right? It's going to go right back into tight mode because that's your nervous system protecting it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's back to the point of muscle. Again, it's muscle centric, right? Because when you feel that kind of tightness, it's usually in the belly of something, right?
Mm,
And you don't really get that sensation. Or I don't think people realize that you get that sensation closer to the joint, right? Because that's not usually where it hurts, unless you've got something around the joint that is wrong, maybe a tendonitis or a tendinopathy or something. It's generally my hamstrings are tight, my quads are tight. And again, to the point I made earlier is people don't realize that all the stuff that we use, all the bigger stuff that are meant to push things around and pull things around, is also responsible for moving the joint. And if the joint doesn't move into a certain position, you can stretch that thing as much as you want. It's not going to give you a healthier hip capsule.
yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep.
I
I
am.
mean, yeah, I mean, what I normally do is I normally take something and I say, okay, look, man, imagine this is your knee and this is your hip, because you say you tell me you have tight hamstrings. So your
Yeah.
hamstring is attached to your hip and it's attached to your knee, right?
Yeah.
So if it's tight, what we do is we just stretch and then it goes back and we
Yeah.
stretch and we kind of get into this thing, right? But I try to explain to people is that, what if I give you more space in your hip and your knee?
Mm.
So if I give you more space in the joint, then the tissue has space to lengthen,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes that works. Sometimes a light bulb goes off. If I can get a light bulb, man, I'm pretty happy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But a lot of people can pretty much grasp that visualization of doing this versus doing that, right?
Yeah.
So that is one of the things about stretching. That
Yeah.
I hear a lot is, I'm tight, so I haven't stretched enough. Like, well, okay, yeah.
And it just sometimes takes another session, right? Because yes, there is a lot of stuff available online. You can go onto YouTube and you can find a gazillion things to do. And one of the things I find odd about it is, again, to the point of, it's very short-term focused. It's, I need something because I'm going to go and squat now, so I need something to loosen up my hips so that I can squat right now. So you can go onto YouTube and say, give me a hip mobility warm-up. They'll give you a couple of drills. Yep, hips feel great. Let's go. And then I see some of the guys, all it sometimes take is one class where they go through a structured program where we do some internal, external flexion of the hip.
Mm,
And a lot of the guys, and again, to your point, it's not that I'm sitting there saying, look, I told you, you've got a bad hip. It's
yeah.
people really have a humbling experience once they realize. I say, let's go into 90-90, give me a bit of a hip extension bias, and then try and internally rotate your hip. And people are looking at their feet and the ankle's not moving. I say, well, that's kind of what you expect your hip to do in a squat, but there's no room for it to do it. So I found that, and I'm encouraging people, particularly in the gym now, is just come and try out a class. For some people, maybe they bought in immediately and they'll go into it and they'll enjoy it and they'll continue to do it. But for other people, they come in, they do it, they're like, don't really need it. I did a squat yesterday. My squat was fine. So I'm just going to keep going. And then to what I said last week, 2-3 weeks down the line, you see that person with a groin strain, and then they wonder where that's coming from.
Yeah. Well, we're living in a world now, Peter, where people have to be impressed by something in order to take
Mm.
action a lot of times. And I mean, mobility is just not sexy on Instagram.
No,
Like
it's not.
it's not very impressive to put somebody in a, in a frog stretch, or, or a bear sit. Because
Yeah,
I mean, a Bosu ball and a kettlebell is way cooler, right?
yeah,
So I mean, it's just, yeah. But that's when you, if you can get their attention and you can put them in those positions, some of the positions that we use in kin stretch, which I mean, shout out to Dr. Spina, man, for
mm.
creating. I mean, kin stretch is just amazing in terms of just the base positions that we have
Yeah,
and
yeah,
all that we can do in all the different base positions. It's such a learning curve for people, and you just wish to say, okay, look, man, how many times do you go to a gym per week? Okay, I train 3 or 4 times a week. Great. What do you do? I do upper body, I do lower body, or I do push and I do pull and I do some cardio. Great.
mm.
Like, how can we get these people that are already going to the gym to just shave off a little bit of that volume
Yeah,
and just replace it with some joint specific training? Like, it just, it's almost like a miracle worker,
yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah. And we
Yeah,
talked about it last week, right? Is you don't have to go and add an additional hour. It's just understand your body first and foremost. Understand how your body is meant to move, not just how
mm,
it needs to look while you squat, how it needs to look while you press, but understand fundamentally how the structure needs to move. Because then, to your point, you could say, instead of me doing 3 different chest exercises, let me replace one of them to stimulate the joint that's responsible for that pressing movement anyway, build some strength there, and do the rest of the stuff. You cut the volume, which
yeah.
which leads to an overtraining issue anyways if you keep doing the same repetitive movement, and just replace it with something a bit more fundamental.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it also, going back to what you mentioned the other day. You said someone just said, "Yeah, well, I mean, my squat looked pretty good, so I'm
Yeah,
okay."
yeah,
It's preventive versus reactionary. I
yeah,
mean, most people really don't take and I'm definitely uh, uh, guilty of this, just waiting until something just feels really horrible to the
mm,
point where you go to see a doctor or a specialist or something like that.
yeah.
And
It's
the
in our
minute
nature, man. I think.
yeah, it's in our nature. And, we're time poor, man. No one has time to go to a doc. You got to make an appointment. You got to miss work. You got to
Mm,
rearrange your whole schedule just to go sit in the doctor's office. It's like, that's okay. I'll be okay. It's not that
yeah,
bad. And we keep telling ourselves, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. And those little small bumps and bruises start to accumulate.
yeah,
Scar tissue starts to kick in. Your nervous system is already fried. You're not recovering properly. Now you're compensating through that joint. And then, it just goes wrong, Peter. It just
yeah,
it
yeah,
just goes wrong, man.
yeah,
And I don't want, we're not pain chasers. I tell people all the time, man, I hate fixing people.
yeah. Mm,
I don't like to fix you. I'm not a Mr. Fixer Upper. I want to get you to the point, man, where you're like so excited about building that buffer, bulletproof in your body so you don't get
yeah,
hurt,
yeah,
right? Or if you are in such a sport like jiu-jitsu or CrossFit and some of these really high intensity type of activities, which it's inevitable that you're going to get some type of injury or bumps and bruises along the way.
mm,
just knowing that your body is trained enough that it's going to bounce back
Yeah.
because it's trained,
Yeah.
it gives me a good feeling at night. I can get on the mats, but if I never trained my joints, man, I would be terrified to get on the mats.
Well, that's something I think we need to get into a little bit. I know we've been talking about CrossFit quite a bit, but I think you guys, I think your joints probably take more of a beating than ours do because, I've seen it, and it really looks like you guys are at some point trying to tear each other's limbs apart. We don't go that far, but to that point,
That's the
right?
point, man. Like you're trying to you're trying to rip your opponent's joint off.
Yeah,
That's the whole beauty of jiu-jitsu,
yeah.
man. Your opponent is attacking your joints, man. So that's I'm like, man, why wouldn't you have some type of system in play? And I'm really trying to work with coaches on this, right?
Mm.
Dude, you're teaching people how to rip each other's joints. Can you please teach them how to protect them?
Yeah, yeah. Give them
Right?
some joint protection. Sure.
Yeah, yeah. It is. It's definitely. Especially when you go deeper into, the ISM, the internal strength model,
Mm.
and doing some of the band work and stuff that we do to prepare the bodies is really cool stuff, man. I mean, it gives you an opportunity to escape a
Mm.
submission. So if someone has me in what they call a Kimura lock, where they've got me in, extreme internal rotation, if I've never trained this position, I've never trained my shoulder how to produce force in internal rotation, nor absorb force in internal
Mm.
rotation, it's
Not going
very,
anywhere.
very vulnerable.
Mm.
Most of the time, when I get on the mat and I roll with people, and I say this all the time, the bigger the guys are, the happier I get.
Mm.
I just go straight for the shoulders.
Yeah. They're not trained. They're not trained.
9 times out of 10, those big shoulders have been pressing
Mm.
and laterally, right, doing that stuff,
Yeah.
linear motions, and that it has almost zero rotation.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
And
don't even have to make much effort. I just gotta
yeah.
I just have to have just enough strength to overpower my opponent and get that shoulder into internal rotation.
Yeah.
Now, you take these guys that really train their mobility or have good mobility naturally, you can twist their arm like a towel, and they just have it because they're
Yeah.
used to it, right?
Yeah.
But the big guys, not so
Yeah.
much.
And it's good. You're right. It's good to have that capacity. And again, reference you just made to the internal strength model. And again, it's building that strength, but it's also, and I know we've got a separate episode on the nervous system, which we could probably spread over its own series. But a lot of the ballistics training that goes in there is your ability to, like you say, you've got in certain positions a millisecond or less for your nervous system to realize and recognize what's going on and switch the right stuff on. And if you're strong and you've got that awareness of where your body is, you've trained in a very, very wide workspace of positions, and your nervous system is super responsive and it gives you access when you need it, man. That's just gold standard.
Yeah, 100%. Because it either gives you two choices. You can escape or you can tap.
Yeah. Yeah. Fight or
But if
flight.
you don't, yeah, man. But if you get caught in one of those bad positions and your nervous system doesn't know what to do, right? It's going to shut down.
Yeah.
But your opponent's not going to shut down. They're going to keep pushing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem, man. And also just in jiu-jitsu, we drill a lot, right? So if you know the whole thing, like an arm bar or what we call an Americana lock, where we take the shoulder in external rotation, in order to get good at a submission, you have to do it a number of times,
Mm.
and your partner has to do it on you, right? It takes about 10 to 12 years to get a black belt, Peter. So
Mm.
imagine 10 years of somebody tugging on your shoulder,
Yeah.
tugging on your elbows. By the time and I always say, by the time guys get to that black belt level, they've got the technique, but their body is
Body is.
busted. They can't even
Yeah.
they can't even enjoy it anymore because
Yeah.
they're in so much pain.
Yeah.
Especially if they've started later in life and more people are entering like CrossFit at a later age and
Yeah.
jujitsu at a later age. It's even more pertinent now that they protect their joints, man. Okay, when
Yeah.
you're younger, you're 19, 20, some of the guys, man, after I'm completely wiped out, man, they still go. After we stop, they keep going, man. They can go forever.
Yeah.
But when you're
Yeah.
in your 40s and 50s, bro.
Because you already have a lot of that degeneration that has taken place, and that's a different
Mm,
conversation again, right? Things
yes.
don't degenerate by themselves, right? And that's something we can talk about later on. Is again this mindset of I'm in my 40s, I'm starting jiu-jitsu, I'm starting CrossFit, my body's not built for this anymore, I'm too old. Not too old. You've let your body get old. The joints
Mm,
have deteriorated over time. So now you're trying to do something that your body's not conditioned or prepared to do. Doesn't mean you can't get there. You probably would have been in better shape if you had been doing something about it. But there's still a way forward, right? I mean, you're living proof. You've been doing it for a while now, and you're doing the right stuff along with the sport, and that's why you get to enjoy the benefit.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I still get banged up on the mat,
Yeah.
but you know, it feels different.
Yeah.
It feels different. Like, if I really get something, I get in a bad position because I've been slammed on my neck twice.
Mm.
I mean, to the point, man, where I thought I was going to be paralyzed, bro. That's how bad it was. So I do a lot of neck strengthening exercises and,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff, spinal stuff. And it just helps. It just
But
helps.
but
My,
to
my neck will never be
yeah.
the same,
Yeah.
but I figure if I didn't do any of this
Yeah.
stuff, then I probably couldn't even look over my shoulder at this point.
Yeah. And that's the point that I wanted to make very, very clear for everybody who's listening, right? Because I think the way, and again, we've talked about marketing and stuff, and I think the way people perceive this sometimes is that this is the magic bullet, that if you do this stuff, you'll never get injured again. You'll never be
Mm,
sore again. And I think we probably need to clarify that.
right.
Everything has a mechanical limit. Everything, if you pull it too far, it's going to break. But we're kind of lengthening the lifespan of something, and we're giving you more resilience so that you're less injury prone. Doesn't mean you're not going to get injured ever again. It just means it's going to be a tougher time for you to get injured. And when you get injured, you've got good tissue quality, you've got a good nervous system, responsive tissue, so your bounce back and your rehab and your recovery is probably going to be a lot better than someone that's not been doing this stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of it is just maintenance,
Mm.
right? And of course, a maintenance schedule on your body really works well when you already have a baseline.
Yeah,
You do FRAs, the functional range assessments. I do FRAs, and it gives us such a great um, overall picture of what's happening. And
yeah,
those and man, the guy has a good right shoulder. Tick. Let's
yeah,
maintain that shoulder, right?
yeah,
And let's improve it, right?
yeah,
There's always room for improvement, but at least knowing it's not about looking at what's bad. It's also looking at what's good and
yeah.
maintaining that. People say,
How can
"Well,
we
yeah,
keep
I'm,
it?
I'm
Yeah,
okay. I don't have any pain." I'm like, "Good. Let's keep it that way."
yeah,
Right?
yeah, 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 yeah. And it comes back to what you said earlier: is we only pay attention once stuff starts to hurt, and by that
Yep.
time, it's 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 probably been giving you some warning lights over weeks and months. Those injuries that come up is not something, and a lot of people think it's in the moment. It was that movement right there, I can remember it distinctly. That's where, I broke my knee or whatever the case is. It's been coming for a while. And if people can really just get more into a maintenance habit, and we're not saying, add an additional hour or 90 minutes to your session. I like to do it. I like to sit and spend hour and a half doing this stuff because I really enjoy it and I know what it's doing for my body. But for most people, if you give them anything more than 15, 20 minutes a day to do, they're probably not going to do it, to be honest.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's I have this theory, Peter. I got I got this theory about, like, when you are have you ever, I'm going to ask you this question. Have you ever known anyone, it may divert a little bit, sorry, but have you ever known anyone that was completely just super duper stiff, went inside a yoga studio, started doing yoga on a regular basis, and after like a year or 2 years, they come out and say, man, I'm like super duper flexible?
Mm.
Or do you believe that people stumble or go into a yoga studio, they already have naturally good flexibility? They realize, oh, I'm pretty flexible. I can do what the teacher can do. And then they continue with yoga because they're already good at it,
Yeah.
right? So this is
Yeah.
my theory, that a lot of people who do stretching and yoga and stuff like that are already pretty good at it when they start,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I rarely meet someone who starts with that and then it it um it
Yeah.
makes a huge difference in that. Now, of course, you got the breathing, the body awareness, the blood flow, and all the wonderful benefits of yoga you can still get from it,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But a lot of people do it for the mentality of just being flexible.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It's that aspect of being bendy. To the first point I mentioned earlier is it's people genuinely think that flexibility is all they need. If I can get into a position, I'm okay. I should be okay.
yeah,
Until you could also have that argument: is being too flexible dangerous for you? Right? That's a whole different area, because to your angle that you displayed earlier is, this is my active range, that's my passive range. Anything in between there is dead space. It's injury space. That's an opportunity for you to knock yourself out.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
when people come and they say, man, well, I do yoga. I'm like, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. Especially if you're already flexible.
Yeah.
Great. That means you have a lot of passive range of motion.
Yeah.
Let's go back and backfill that in and get you to control that space.
Yeah.
Right? Now you got some people that come to you, they don't have anything, like no
Mm.
flexibility at all. So we got to work, we're doing two
Yeah.
things at one time. It just makes the process a little bit longer. But I've
Yeah.
had hypermobility clients or people that are super duper stretchy and bendy. Um, and oftentimes that community, they really don't like using weights,
Mm.
right? They don't like using weights. And when you find people who are super duper bendy and stretchy like that, they're hurt a lot. They have a lot
Mm.
of pain sometimes and they don't know why, right?
Mm.
Especially hypermobility clients. And then when they start doing this type of training, they go, oh, wow, I'm getting stronger. Like,
Yeah.
yes, you're getting stronger. Now your nervous system knows how to put on the brakes,
Yeah.
right?
Not just the accelerator, because that's where a lot of people miss it,
Exactly.
right? It's just all
Yeah.
gas pedal go. Where's the brakes?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So a lot of
Yeah.
times when I mention mobility and they go, no, 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 I do yoga, or you go to a team, for example, say, hey, listen, I love to, work with your team. No, 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 we got a yoga teacher coming. I'm like, okay, wait. Listen, hear me out. That's great, right? That's
Yeah.
great. But it may not be specific enough for you. It's
Yeah.
great to work on the flexibility. Fantastic. Keep doing it. But you're taking the long road, right?
Yeah.
And you might not get the results that you really think you're
Yeah.
getting, right?
And,
That you're
and
looking
that's
for.
the main thing I think that's missing. Where back to the kind of the core of the episode is, why is mobility still misunderstood? Because I think it's it's thinking that it's just flexibility and missing
Mm,
probably the most important part, which is it's strength training. And when I talk to people nowadays, I, you reference the word mobility, but it's, we're strength training. I'm just strength training you in a different way so that your conventional pattern based movements can be a lot better. And I think it's
well,
just in the
yeah,
delivery and the the way people perceive what it is we're trying to do. Yes, flexibility is a very important component, because if we
yeah.
can't get you there, we can't train there. But
Mm,
once we get you there, we need to do something. Just getting
right.
there doesn't really mean much.
Yeah, and one of the biggest, and you can stop me, man. We can go on forever, bro. But
Yeah.
I know one of the things that I realize that a lot of times, and this is a big one. This is a big one. This probably should have been number one. People misunderstand what what expressing the mobility that you have versus mobility training.
Mm.
So you do have a lot of people on social media. Let me show you my mobility routine, right? And that's fine, but for the viewer, they're watching this and they're thinking, "Oh wow, if I do what they're doing, this is going to improve my mobility."
Mm.
And I try to explain that if you try to mimic what you see, you're just going to express what you have.
Yeah.
But mobility training, this is why we always add that magical word training. That is what is, that's when we're doing something so specific that your body can adapt and get better at it. So you can express more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like you train it and then you express it. You train it and you express it. They're not the same thing. So
Yeah.
if you talk to people, say, "Man, I said, do you do any mobility training?" "Yeah, I do." "What do you do?" "Oh, I do this and that, and I do, and I move and this and that, and it improves my." Well, wait a minute. You're maintaining what you have, right? Because you're
Yeah.
doing it, but are you really improving it? Like,
Yeah.
the law of specificity tells us
Yeah.
that you know you may not. It's great that you're doing it, don't stop, because you're maintaining it. But in
Yeah.
terms of training bumps it up. That
Yeah.
intensity has to be there, that specificity has to be there. So mobility expression and mobility training is another big one.
Yeah. And especially to that point of seeing the stuff on social media, and I mentioned it earlier, right? Is you see all this stuff and it's great. And if you understand how the body needs to move and how that joint needs to be positioned in certain ways, then you understand why we do the training that we do. And unfortunately, a lot of people take a couple of exercises. Here's a hip mobility routine, and they get it, and they see they can't even get into some of the positions that the guys are showing. But again, fundamentally, you need the access in the joint to be able to get in some of those positions to train there. That's why
Mm.
we break it down into such small components and say, before I even put you in that deep of a lunge with your leg externally rotated and your arm going this way, which freak a lot of people out, is let's work on the function first. And then to your point, then let's see how we can express the movement. And that came from our literature, the stuff that we trained, right? Is
Yep.
is the last thing we do is an expression of movement. Everything
Mm.
that we're training for is to get us to a point where we can get the body to do something else. Yeah.
Very nice point. Very,
Yeah.
very well said. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to it, right? It's comparing the two different sports, and any other sport for that matter, whether you were a gymnast or a swimmer or a whatever, it's it might be a different language in terms of how we need to prepare the bodies for different things we need to do, but it's
Hmm.
all still the same thing, right? It's
Yeah.
all still the same thing. The body is the body. We need to condition the body from the inside out to handle the forces we're trying to exert and absorb.
Yeah, I mean, and quoting Dr. Spina is in the sum of the parts is all we have is the parts,
Yeah,
right? I mean, making the shoulder better is going to make you a better tennis player.
yeah,
It's just that simple. The
yeah,
better shoulder you have, the longer you're going to last, the more you can express, the more strength you're going to have, the more power, the more all that stuff, speed, all that stuff comes from the fact that that joint is highly functional
yeah,
versus a dysfunctional joint that compensates, that the nervous system is protecting, that is painful, that's sore after training, right? That sometimes expresses strength and sometimes it doesn't.
mm,
Like, so it all, I don't know, man. We
yeah,
can go down.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. I don't know
You,
what the answer is. I don't have the solution. All I
no,
can say is it's a misunderstood thing, and we're gonna take this to our grave, man. That's it.
no. Well, hopefully by the end of this series, and we've still got a lot more to talk about over the next
Yeah,
couple of months. Is hopefully, and that's the goal of this series, right? Is to
100%.
try and clear up a lot of that misunderstanding and get people to understand why we do this. And I said earlier, I'm watching more and more people now. I actually posted something earlier in the week of someone that's saying, yeah, mobility is just a new way people are trying to sell you training just so that you don't do this and that and this and that. Again,
Oh, you saw that?
I did. I did.
Yeah.
I've been
Well,
seeing a couple, but it's been coming up on my feed more regularly now. There's one particular guy, I won't mention any names, but I've been seeing him, and I saw he started posting reels of other guys like us, mobility specialists, saying, well, that's not going to improve your mobility because you're not doing this, this, and that. I won't go into much into the detail. I
yeah.
just shake my head when I look into these, but
Well, I mean, look, man, I think what gives us confidence enough to put together a podcast and to get on YouTube is the fact that um, we've been fortunate enough to put in the time to
yeah,
study this stuff, and we are not just randomly talking from the top of our heads. We're actually talking from within a system that's
yeah,
been tried and tested, that's being used with major sports teams all over the world, Olympians, right? The research is there.
yeah,
The lens is there. It's not like, so when people come and criticize and say, yeah, that's just something, I know that that person has not taken the time to look into what we're doing. I'm not
yeah,
saying everybody has to adopt what we're doing,
mm,
but at least, I also know people who've taken the FRC course and they go, yeah, okay, yeah, I've taken the course and I get the idea, but I'm gonna stick with what I do. I respect
mm,
that because at least you took the time
yeah,
to
yeah,
go into it, right?
yeah.
Um,
And especially
yeah,
for people, if you've tried so many different things in your life before and none of it's worked, right? And that's why I see a lot of people kind of lose faith in mobility because they've done a lot of stuff, unstructured perhaps, a bunch of exercises put together
yep.
into a program. If you've been doing a lot of stuff and it's not worked for you, what have you got to lose to try this stuff, right?
Well,
And
before this, that's all we had, Peter, was just
yeah,
a
yeah,
bunch of
yeah,
random
yeah,
stuff that we could put together down on paper 10 minutes before our client came through the
yeah,
door. Now we have a
yeah,
system, rotation before linear. We got, capsular work before. I mean, we've got a system that's
mm,
so sweet. And we understand it. The
yeah,
hardest part is just conveying the message, man. That's the
yeah,
hardest part, is
yeah,
just getting people to sit down long enough to
yeah.
just learn a little bit of this stuff is going to change their
One
lives.
one life at a time, man. One life at a time. People. I found that people are the best marketers. You know, you can put up
Yeah.
any social media stuff. It just takes one guy whose life you changed. You know, you helped him be more injury resilient. Um, I know we're not pain chasers and pain fixers,
Right.
but you fix something that somebody's been struggling with for a very, very long time. That person talks, people get on the bandwagon, and this thing will spread by itself.
Yeah.
I really do think we've got a very, very good methodology. Well, not we, Dr. Spina,
Yep.
that he's taught us. But
Yep.
yeah, love it, love it, and this is why we're doing this, is to try and spread this so other people can
It's
benefit
just
from it
to
as well.
spread, yeah, man, just to get people aware and just try it out. And for those people who are listening who've tried everything, if you haven't gotten with a FRC practitioner um, and gone through a consultation with someone in your area, and we're not getting paid to say this, right? This
Yeah,
is just,
yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean?
No
Like,
affiliate marketing.
just, yeah, I mean, just, if you think man, I've met so many people who they've tried everything. And so when they come through the door with me, maybe someone did refer that person to me. You can feel the skepticism in
Mm,
their voice. And they first come in and they tell you everything that's wrong. And I'm
yeah,
like, well, if you already know, right? Why are we having this conversation if you already know
yeah,
what's the problem? Right.
yeah,
But you have these people who come through referrals. Reluctantly, they come. They tell you, I've tried everything. Say, okay,
mm,
I respect that. And I respect the fact that you've given me your time to listen to me. Right. And
yeah,
now let me show you how I look at the body through the lens of what I've been taught. And
yeah,
if you can get that 10-minute conversation, it's like, whoa,
yeah,
let me listen some more, right? And
yeah.
then once you get them to buy into it, then a lot of times they'll take some sessions with you. Yeah.
Yeah, but that skepticism is nasty, right? Because it also sets a bit of an expectation because they've been referred to you that you're going to
Yeah.
magically fix all the problems they had in 5
Yeah.
sessions. So
Yeah.
usually when people come in for an FRA now, I said, look, let me be upfront with you. We're going to do an assessment here. I'm going to give you an action plan. How long have you been struggling with this stuff? 5 years, 10 years? Probably going to take us a fair amount of time to get you back there. So don't expect that after 10 sessions, we're going to have everything fixed, because the body doesn't work that way, right? The body keeps score. And if you've been, and I'm not afraid to say it to clients because it's the truth, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally, if you've neglected certain things in the body and things have deteriorated, the nervous system have forgot range of motion, the body doesn't want to go there, it's going to take us some time to get back to you being a properly functioning human being. And that scares a lot of people, because I know therapeutically people go into the physio and the chiropractor and they get relief, right?
Yeah.
And that relief feels good. And that's why you get a lot of people that keep going for massages and needling and therapies and so on, because I've got a problem, I fix it. I go
Hmm.
about my day, I've got a problem, I fix it.
Yeah.
Happy to pay thousands of dollars to do this. But yeah, I mean, let's see how many minds we can change. There is a preventative, there is a proactive approach. We've got it. We're here to share it.
I
So
used to,
let's
I
see how it
used to,
goes.
I used to, I used to work. Sorry to cut you off, Peter.
No, no,
I
no, go
used
ahead.
to, I used to work when I was strictly a personal trainer. I used to work with a lot of obese clients. And it was fascinating to see people that would come to me and they wanted to lose weight, right? So you put them through the program, and there were some people who they would lose 3 or 4 kilos and disappear. They, they would just disappear.
Mm,
And I'm like, yeah, but we just getting started, bro. Like,
yeah.
you know, don't disappear. Don't stop now. Or they would
Mm,
like be very, very disciplined with what they had to do with their exercise and their nutrition. And then as soon as they saw like 2 or 3 or 4 kilos drop, bro, man, they were off to Ibiza and destroyed the whole
Yeah.
the whole 4 months.
Back to
I'm like, yo, don't do that, right? And so I also see sometimes that happens with mobility, right? Like they start to see a little bit of change, and then they go,
everything's
wow,
fixed. Let's go. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like, no, you're out of pain. This is where it starts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right now your nervous system is allowing us to do the work. Let's
Yeah.
do it. Right. So yeah, it's just interesting to see those parallels, man.
Yeah.
But Peter, it's been great talking to you, man.
It's been amazing, like always.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%,
We've got a bunch of stuff going on. I mean, I'm not going to go through all of it, but we'll keep the viewers and the listeners engaged. We've got a lot of good stuff we want to talk about over the next couple of weeks. We'll talk about maintenance, why we do our robotic stuff, why we move like robots. We do it on purpose. Yeah, there we go. Why mobility is not recovery, what happens to the body when we compensate, and kind of a parallel to this one, flexibility versus mobility versus strength. We've got a bunch of stuff. But we'll keep going. We can go on forever.
100%.
I know it's late for you, so appreciate it, man. It was really good to talk to you.
Always. Thanks so much, man.
Enjoy the rest of the time there and have a safe journey next week.
Yep. We'll be in touch.
We'll catch up soon.
And thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for listening. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.